سبيل الدموع سبيل مريح تنهدى يا صاحي كي تستريح وبث الدعاء الخفي الصريح.
So what am I going to do then? What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to share with you in what's probably, I think that's about half an hour gone, share with you in the next hour and a half of the correct, or as I've labeled the title, the sound understanding of al-Walā wal-Barā. We have a hadith from the Prophet ﷺ in which it says, أوثق أور الإيمان الموالى في الله والمعادة في الله وحب في الله والبغض في الله عز وجل. And this has been narrated by Tabrani and it's been narrated by many others. And it mentions here that the more sound bonds, the sound, and this is one which is used by the proponents of this Salafi understanding of al-Walā wal-Barā, and which it says that the strong bonds of Iman is friendship in Allah and enmity or hostility for the sake of Allah, and love for the sake of Allah, and hatred for the sake of Allah. And this is one which is recorded, and by this people have then taken this concept of al-Walā wal-Barā, because the word has been used there, al-Muwala, and then have misunderstood this. Now we have this kind of hatred existence, or this hating on others, and as a result it's been misinterpreted to then mean something quite different. Now I'm gonna sort of go through this in sort of bits, and let's first look at is, if a person is a Muslim, what kind of affection or care should a fellow Muslim share? Now there's a number of verses of the Quran. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَهَاجِرُوا وَجَاهَدُوا بِأَمْوَالِهِمْ وَأَنفُسِهِمْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ وَالَّذِينَ آوَوا وَنَصَرُوا أُولَٰئِكَ بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ. Some of them are awliya. Again, al-Walā is coming from the same root word there, even though some have disagreed that wali and wala are slightly different. I'm not going to get into a discussion on sort of word semantics. We're just going to really focus on the general meaning of the word. That some of them are protectors, friends, whatever, of others. وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَلَمْ يُهَاجِرُوا مَا لَكُم مِّن وَلَايَتِهِم مِّن شَيْءٍ. As for those who believe but they don't emigrate, then there is no walayat there at all. Okay, so this shows that, hold on, what's going on here? So this seems to be somewhat a political relationship. حَتَّى يُهَاجِرُوا, until they emigrate. However, وَإِنِ اسْتَنْصَرُوكُمْ فِي الدِّينِ, if they ask you based on religious grounds, meaning that they're being attacked because of their religion, that they're being isolated because of their religion, and we're seeing that now within Rohingya, the Myanmar Muslims who are being attacked, they're now asking help based on, because they're being targeted for no other reason but because of their religion. So if they ask you for help, فَعَلَيْكُمُ النَّصْرُ, then you should assist them. إِلَّا عَلَىٰ قَوْمٍ بَيْنَكُمْ, and obviously this type of assistance is talking about actual war. Except if there is between those people and between you a mithaq, some kind of agreement, some kind of covenant. So if, for example, they ask the Bangladeshi government or they ask the Pakistani government for assistance for basically to wage war on Burma of sorts, then, and if there was a peace treaty between Burma and Pakistan, or there was a peace treaty between Burma and Bangladesh, then that would not be waived because that peace treaty exists. Yes, they could sit down and say, well, we're going to now remove this peace treaty, whatever, that's something else. But if it exists, then they can't do anything apart from use political pressure. Wallahu bima ta'maluna basir, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what you're doing. وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ إِلَّا تَفْعَلُوهُ تَكُنْ فِتْنَةٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَفَسَادٌ كَبِيرٌ. And this is in Surah Al-Anfal, ayat number 72 and 73. We have another. إِنَّمَا وَلِيُّكُمُ اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا الذين يقيمون الصلاة ويؤتون الزكاة وهم راكعون ومن يتولى الله ورسوله والذين آمنوا فإن حزب الله هم الغالبون. Indeed, innama wali, your wali is Allah and His Messenger and those who believe. Obviously, this is addressing to the believers. Who are alladhina amanu, alladhina, those who yuqimuna, establish salah and they give zakat. So Allah SWT define who the believers are. He's already given the criteria. He's saying that it's those who pray and it's those who give zakat and they whilst they are in ruku. And again, this is Surah Ma'idah 55 and 56. So we see in the second ayat, and whom وَمَن يَتَوَلَّ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولُهُ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا فَإِنَّ حِزْبَ اللَّهِ هُمُ الْغَالِبُونَ. Further on, وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتُ بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ. يَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنكَرِ. They enjoin good and they prohibit evil. They establish salah, they give zakat. وَيُطِيعُونَ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ أُولَٰئِكَ سَيَرْحَمُهُمُ اللَّهُ إِنَّ اللَّهَ عَزِيزٌ حَكِيمٌ. And further on, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةٌ. Indeed, believers are brothers. This is in Surah Al-Hujurat, ayat number 10. فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَ أَخَوَيْكُمْ. And then there's also a hadith, لا تدخلون الجنة حتى تؤمنوا ولا تؤمنوا حتى تحابوا أولا أدلكم على شيء إذا فعلتموه تحاببتم أفشوا السلام بينكم. That you will not enter Jannah until you believe, and you will not believe until you love one another. Okay, أولا أدلكم على شيء. Shall I not indicate you upon something that if you were to do it, then love would grow amongst yourselves? What's that? Spread salam amongst yourselves. Keep greeting yourself with assalamu alaikum one another. الْمُؤْمِنْ لِلْمُؤْمِنْ كَالْبُنْيَانِ. That a believer for another believer is like a building. يَشُدُّ بَعْضُ بَعْض. They each support one another, like bricks support one another. وَشَبَّكَ أَصَابِعَ. And Rasulullah interlocked his fingers to show that. This is in Bukhari. The hadith before was in Muslim. This is in Bukhari, it's been, and also narrated by Muslim as well. And the Prophet further said, مَثَلُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ فِي تَوَادِهِمْ وَتَرَاحُمِهِمْ وَتَعَاطُفِهِمْ مَثَلُ الْجَسَدِ. That the similitude of believers in terms of their affection for one another, in terms of the mercy that they show for one another, in terms of the kindness that they show one another, is similar to one body. إِذَا اشْتَكَى مِنْهُ عَضْوٌ. When one body part complains, تَدْعَى لَهُ سَائِرُ الْجَسَدِ بِالسَّهْرِ وَالْحُمَّةِ. Then the rest of its body stays awake, it's sleepless, and it's in a state of fever. Again mentioned by Imam Bukhari. And we carry on this, لا تحاسدوا ولا تناجشوا ولا تباغضوا ولا تدابروا ولا يبيع بعضكم على بيع بعض وكونوا عباد الله إخوانا. المسلم أخو المسلم لا يظلمه ولا يخذله ولا يحقره. التقوى ها هنا. ويشير إلى صدري 3 مرات. بحسب امرئ من الشرع يحقر أخاه المسلم كل المسلم على المسلم حرام دمه وماله وعرضه. So again, the Prophet mentioning here, Sahih Muslim, that la tahasud, don't have hasad, jealousy for one another, don't sort of spy on one another, don't have hatred for one another, don't have basically ill feelings and show any kind of attitude like this to one another. And neither of you should sort of overbid when another brother's put a bid in somewhere. And be servants of Allah like brothers. A Muslim is a brother of a fellow Muslim. He does not oppress him, he does not abandon him, and he does not belittle him. And then he says, at-taqwa hahuna. Taqwa is here. True piety is here, meaning it's concealed, it's within your heart. It's there. And he says this, and it's sufficient for a person to do evil is that he belittles his brother. That's enough, that he's committed evil here. Every Muslim upon a Muslim is haram, meaning you can't attack him, damuhu, you can't take his wealth, and you can't attack his honor. Now what you are seeing in all of these hadiths is clearly the love and affection that Muslims should show to one another without any shadow of doubt. But what you're also finding is that you're not here carrying out research and saying that, oh, you're not a proper Muslim or you're a worse Muslim, whatever. We have to differentiate belief from the actions themselves. What we're talking about is the belief system, and a person who believes and they agree to the tenets of Islam, which is the oneness of Allah. They eat, slaughter, they believe what's in the Quran, they don't deny what's in the Quran, they don't deny what's in the mutawatir hadith, then that person is considered a believer. They believe in the unseen, then that person is considered a believer. We can't now associate, or we'll see of this other concept, that if this person doesn't show hatred towards a non-Muslim, then this person is no longer considered a believer. We throw this net wide, and this affection is shown to every single one of them. So you can see here that this is quite clear, and a quite clear understanding that we have with respect to our relationship. I'm just pulling out tabs whilst I'm talking to you. They say men can't multitask, which is probably correct, so maybe I should just focus on one thing. So this is about all Muslims. There doesn't seem to be any definition here of a good Muslim and a bad Muslim. We're not here to judge a Muslim. We need to separate about the responsibility that scholars have in defining what a Muslim is. Yes, the responsibility which scholars have in defining which acts are permissible and impermissible. Yes, that is their job. But they will not carry a judgment and say, well, this person is not a Muslim, let's do takfīr of him, if he himself is saying that I pray, that I believe in Allah and I do this and whatever, unless he's saying something which takes him out of the fold of Islam. That's something. But at the moment, what we saw within the work that I showed to you earlier is that there's an idea that based on that ayat, actually, in fact, I don't know why I pulled that out. I'll keep that there. Based upon this, that if a person doesn't show this hatred, then this person ceases to be a Muslim. What about those who commit sins or commit bid'ah? Can they be excluded? Which seems to suggest, from here that they would virtually be coming out the fold of Islam. Well, in the Quran we find in Surah Shu'ara, ayat number 215 and 216, we have a number of verses, two verses rather, which is وَخْفِضْ جَنَاحَكَ لِمَنِ اتَّبَعَكَ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ فَإِنْ أَصَوْكَ فَقُلْ إِنِّي بَرِيءٌ مِمَّا تَعْمَلُونَ. And this is addressed to the Prophet ﷺ. And when it's addressed to the Prophet ﷺ, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that lower your wing, meaning show humility, show affection, show kindness to those who follow you from the believers. Now the next verse, very important. فَإِنْ أَصَوْكَ, if they disobey you. Remember, this is disobeying the Prophet ﷺ. And many, I'm sure, within that ideology would say that person automatically becomes a kāfir if you disobey the Prophet ﷺ. He says, فَإِنْ أَصَوْكَ, then all you say, إِنِّي بَرِيءٌ مِمَّا تَعْمَلُونَ, that I am free from what you have done, the act. Not that I am free from you. Okay, this is very important. He doesn't say, إِنِّي بَرِيءٌ مِنْكُمْ. Because then when Rasulullah says, Inni bari'um minkum, now this person is now no longer a Muslim, because what he's saying, Rasulullah, is that I'm free of you now. You have no connections with me. You don't follow me. That's not what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's saying to him, فَقُلْ إِنِّي بَرِيءٌ مِمَّا تَعْمَلُونَ. And that's the response that he should give. Okay? But when he speaks about the kuffar, it's very different. In Surah Barā, we see that. There's many ayahs there which clearly show that Rasulullah is saying, I am free from the mushrikun and I am free from the kuffar. Very clear there. So this is not how these individuals are described. So we've got some discussion on this in Tafsir al-Bahr al-Muhit, which mentions a little bit more about this, in which it says that فَإِنَ سَوْكَ يَا مُحَمَّدْ فِي الْأَحْكَامِ, that if they disobey you, O Muhammad in rulings, وَفُرُوءِ الْإِسْلَامِ, and in the furu'at of Islam, بَعْدَ تَصْدِيقِكَ, after they've already brought affirmation of belief upon you, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they brought iman in you, وَإِلِمَانَ بِكَ, then فَقُلْ إِنِّي بَرِيءٌ مِمَّا تَعْمَلُونَ, then say to them, I am free from what you are doing, لَا مِنْكُمْ, don't say you are free from them. Why? Because you're making apparent your displeasure بِأَمَلِهِمْ, because of their acts, وَإِنْكَارِكَ عَلَيْهِمْ, and you're rejecting what they've done. وَلَوْ أَمَرَهُ بِالْبَرَى, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had ordered him to do al-Barā, as we've been discussing all along, then مَا بَقِيَ بَعْدَ هَذَا الشَّفِيعَ لِلْأَسَدِ, then there would be nothing left for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to intercede on behalf of anybody who commits these major sins. That would not exist at all. And in Tafsir Baydawi, it mentions the very same thing. فَقُلْ إِنِّي بَرِيءٌ مِمَّا تَعْمَلُونَ مِمَّا تَعْمَلُونَهُ أَوْ مِنْ أَعْمَالِكُمْ. Fath al-Qadir mentions very similar, أي من عملكم أو من الذي تعملونه, وهذا يدل على أن المراد بالمؤمنين المشارفون للإيمان المصدقون باللسان. This is what it's referring to. In Zilal al-Quran, in another tafsir, it mentions, sorry, I'm not translating, meaning from your min amalikum, from your acts, or from that which you've done. So the Prophet is freeing himself from the acts. Again, very similar in Zilal al-Quran. In another tafsir, وَلَا تَتْرُوا مَا بِحَفْظِ الْجَنَاحِ, very similar points, okay? As for the hadith, we have an Auf ibn Malik al-Ashja'i قال سمعت رسول صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول ألا من ولي عليه وال فرآه يأتي شيء من معصية الله فليكره ما يأتي من معصية الله ولا ينزعن يدا من طاعة ولم يقل فليكره. So here we see شيئا من معصية الله, that it comes to an act, it does something which is in the disobedience of Allah, then you should show hatred to the act, ما يأتي. Okay, then show hatred. This is in Sahih Muslim, it's a hadith in Sahih Muslim in which he says show hatred to the act, ma ya'ti, min ma'siyatillah, from the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلَا يَنْزَعَنَّ يَدًا مِنْ طَاعَةٍ. Mullah Likari rahimahullah ta'ala mentions in Mirqat al-Mafatih, which is the Sharā' Mishkat al-Masabih, in which he says here, then you should show dislike to that which he has done, min ma'siyatillah. Isharatun, this is giving ishara towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's statement, which is فَإِنْ أَسَوْكَ فَقُلْ إِنِّي بَرِيءٌ مِمَّا تَعْمَلُونَ. That's what it's indicating. In Sahih Bukhari, it mentions as well, with respect to the story of Khalid ibn Walid radiyallahu anhu. Khalid ibn Walid radiyallahu anhu was sent to Bani Jadhima, and when he went there, he asked them to convert to Islam, and they said saba'na, which was the term which was normally used when people would be saying that I'm changing my religion. But Khalid ibn Walid didn't like that, because he thought they were being clever and tactful, and they weren't really saying anything by saying aslamna, that we've accepted Islam, and he thought that they were being devious, so he went about taking some as captives and killing some. So when news reached the Prophet ﷺ, the hadith mentioned, this is in Sahih Bukhari, he raised his hands and said, Allahumma inni abra'u ilayk mimma sana'a Khalid. That, Ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I am freeing myself, Barā, okay, remember, al-Walā wal-Barā. I am freeing myself, or I am acknowledging no involvement in that which Khalid ibn Walid has done. Not from him, abra'u ilayka min Khalid. So again, sana'a Khalid, it's again the act. Otherwise, if we take this kind of view, then we would be saying here is a Sahabi who's gone against what the Prophet ﷺ has ordered, clearly, and is going to kill people who are potentially Muslim. But did that mean that Rasulullah ﷺ completely dissociated from him? No, he didn't. He dissociated from the act. So you can see clearly this difference where we are separating, Muslims are told to separate from the act. Ibn Taymiyyah mentions this as well in his Minhaj al-Sunnah al-Nabawiyya, and he says, Allahumma inni abra'u ilayka mimma sana'a Khalid. He mentions this, and he also references the verse, فَإِنْ أَسَوْكَ فَقُلْ إِنِّي بَرِيءٌ مِمَّا تَعْلَمُونَ. So we're seeing this time and time again. Again, it's mentioned here in إِثَارُ الْحَقِّ عَلَى الْخَلْقِ فَأَمَرَهُ بِالْبَرَاءِ مِنْ أَمَلِهِمْ الْقَبِيحِ لَا مِنْهُمْ. The order is وَقَوْلُهُ تَعَالَى فَإِنْ أَسَوْكَ فَقُلْ إِنِّي بَرِيءٌ مِمَّا تَعْمَلُونَ. That if they disobey you, O Messenger of Allah, then say, I am free from that which you have done. So he's been ordered to Barā, to disavow, we've used the word, from their action, their bad actions, al-kabih, la minhum, okay, not from them. And this is similar how Rasul freed himself from the actions of Khalid radiyallahu anhu, but not from him, okay. Rather, in fact, he kept him as the Amir. He kept him in the leader. He didn't even demote him. I was looking for the word then. He didn't even demote him and say, well, okay, you've done something wrong here. You're now going to be demoted to be a foot soldier, or I want you sent back to me. I'm going to put somebody else in charge because what you've done is completely wrong. He let him stay in that position. We have further this. What about the Sahaba radiallahu anhum ajma'in? In Musannif Abdul Razak, أخبرنا معمر أن أيوب بن قلابة أن أبا درداء مر على رجل قد أصاب ذنبا فكانوا يسبونه. So this person who had committed a sin, so they were swearing at him. So he said to them, that Abu Darda said to them, that أرأيتم لو وجدتموه في قليب, that if you found him in a well, ألم تكونوا مستخرجين, would you not take him out of the well? They said, of course we'll take him out of the well. If we found a brother drowning in the well, we'll take him out. So he said to him, فَلَا تَسِبُوا أَخَاكُمْ, then don't swear at your brother. Praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon that which He has saved you from, that you're not being tested like He is. أَفَلَا تَبْغُضُهُ. Then they responded, should we not hate him? Okay, they responded saying, should we not hate him? So how did the Sahaba interpret these verses, especially verses of this nature? This is talking about those Muslims who get considered to be not Muslim enough, or non-Muslims rather, because they're committing bid'at acts, or they're committing major sins. How did he respond? He said, did he say, yes, hate on him? He said, no, إِنَّمَا أَبْغَدَ إِنَّمَا أَبْغَدُ عَمَلُهُ, that you should only, or the hate should only be towards his actions. فَإِذَا تَرَكُوا فَهُوَ أَخِي, and if he leaves these actions, then he's your brother. So again, it's associated with the actions. And there's many others that I can share with you, but I'm conscious of time, so I know I've got plenty more to cover. So I think that makes the point. There's no point sitting here quoting you one after another after another.
وبث الدعاء الخفي الصريح يسعك الفضاء الرحيم